There are many parallels between you and the world-famous medium and author Paul Selig. What is the significance of that connection in your life?
You know, it's interesting. I was introduced to Paul, like many people, and he's become a dear friend, and I'm grateful for that. When I was first introduced to his book, I Am Word, I opened it up and I started reading, and Paul is a direct channel. The way I channel, the way the divine speaks through me is very different the way it does with him. He opens his mouth, they do the work, he gets to just record it, and then it's a book, which, you know, I always tell him I'm a little jealous. I think he has the easy way. It's not easy, believe me, he works hard. But when I first opened I Am Word and I started reading, I had this huge experience because I had always been very isolated in my work. I have my friend, Dr. Davis, who we helped develop Interpathic Process, but other than him, you know, it was a little health consulting practice in the door, and it was only word of mouth, and people would come. It was only after they'd been with me for a while that the other pieces would start coming, and they'd say, wow, how do you know that? And I'd say, well, you know, I'm slightly intuitive. And I would just like walk in because that was the era. And it wasn't safe. It never felt safe.
Right.
And so then, you know, apparently I'd lived in that bubble maybe a little too long because then there was this bestseller book, and I opened the book, and there were passages that the guides had spoken through him that were direct quotes of the way my spirit guides had taught me. But what came through my spirit guides and what came through the divine, it was verbatim. And it was earth-shattering for me in a lot of ways. Number one, it was great to break through any other ego that I may have left, that I, you know, that was my work. Because, okay, we're all human. A part of me was walking around going, that's mine, it's coming through me. But it's beautifully humbling.
Right.
But at the same time, what really came through is the truth is the truth is the truth. The absolute divine truth of who we are, why we're here, the frequency of love, the frequency of light, source, God, call it what you will, whatever you're comfortable with, the universe. Everyone has their own comfort word. Doesn't matter. You know, Gandhi talks about all religions are just different paths to the same place. That's what that moment was for me. They were exactly the same words. So then I'm sitting there, well, were my guides his guides? And I would get the answer yes and no. But it's the word that is important. And if you look at those words, and if you look at the words that have come through me or anybody else that does the work of the light, you'll see those words in every religious text in one form or another.
Absolutely.
Just pure.
I love that your guides, the answer was yes and no.
Correct.
That's deliciously ambiguous.
Welcome to my world. It's always like that.
Oh, wow.
And then interpretation is the issue, because the ego mind can do a lot of interpretation. So, you know, that's what we're going to try to do here. We're going to try to put it out there.
Right.
And allow people to touch their own resonance, allow their own soul to tell them what they resonate with and what feels true to them, you know?
So are you awake?
Yeah.
Tell me about this experience as well as being a TV personality, your experience in the media bringing this incredible
Do our
energy.
viewers know that I have no idea what questions you were going to ask me ahead of time?
Would you? Well, you've just said it.
Right. That's a tough one. So when Are You Awake was on Energy Talk Radio, it was the #1 radio show. I've only recently reintroduced it. It's the divine working through me. It's taking elements of my academic scholarly work as a naturopath and as a psychologist of specializing in body-mind medicine in my studies of indigenous healing, East and West, ancient and new. It takes that as a context, but each podcast is a channeled experience. And at the end of each podcast, there's an exercise for meditation and healing and self-hypnosis and energy. Because the goal isn't for me to be everybody's healer or anybody's healer ultimately, but to teach each person to do for themselves. You know, there's a story in one of Osho's books where he recounts the story of Rabia, who was a Muslim mystic, who speaks that the only true teacher is one that shows the path and gets out of the way.
I love that.
And I'm hoping that's what we're doing here.
So there are many new age and self-help books and broadcasts available now. There's Oprah's Super Soul Sunday, Hay House Radio, Abraham Hicks. What is your feeling on this widespread availability of information? And is there a way in which we can be sure we are listening to the truth?
The very core that moves me more than anything in the world, that can just bring me to tears in a heartbeat, is the foundation of the work that I do. And that is, we learn and we understand what highest good is, and we learn how to listen for highest good within. Because when we have that, we have everything.
Right.
You know, Patanjali talks about with intuition comes the knowing of all things. That we can know it all, and we have to do that within what's highest good. So to answer your question, I would answer it from there first, that when we check in with ourselves with what's best for me, if highest good is too lofty a word, some people are uncomfortable. If what's in my best interest, what's best for my growth, what's best for who I am as a, and this person, what's best for my family, because highest good is all of that. If I ask that question and learn how to listen to that voice, then we always know the answer. And
That's
there could
true.
be all the flights of fancy out there wants to be. That's our responsibility, not theirs.
So true.
So let everyone speak. And on that note, as I said earlier, you know, I lived in this isolated bubble. I was either that weirdo, new agey weirdo person, which whatever that meant to people, wasn't me. I was an academic. But at the same time, there's all this woo-woo stuff, you know? And it was a lonely place. Because you could sound crazy. You know, your grandmother's in the room and she's telling me blah, 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 like the light's flickering. Well, it's not really the light flickering, it's a message. Sometimes that would be the way it would be. I'm not a psychic. But sometimes messages come in the way they come. So, you know, especially when you're a child that was bullied like I was, and a child that was never understood because, you know, most people understand what it feels like to not really belong. Even if we totally belong as adolescents, we always feel like we don't belong.
Yeah.
So in our soul, we all have that feeling of not really belonging somewhere, and it's a real need. So until I was able to fully heal that, then I became even more isolated, and the world wasn't ready. So you asked me what I think about it. I'm excited. I think it's wonderful. And more people are being gifted. More and more people are connecting to the gifts that they have. And the youth, I'm so excited for them, because their vibration's higher, faster, and we live in this accelerated Look, this is global.
This is global. This is global.
This is global.
And
There's a
therefore,
little
this is
office in
global.
New York, a little office in Ohio. I'd go to Turkey and I'd do a little work. Even that was a lot.
Yeah.
But now right here, we're speaking, the entire world is connecting with us at the same time. It's unbelievable. So no, it's exciting.
Wonderful. And I love the sense of responsibility, of the responsibility inherent in checking in with yourself to see what is in my highest good, what feels good to me, which in a way is taking responsibility for yourself and not projecting it onto anything else, and therefore seeing something distorted in a way. Checking in with yourself to see, does this feel good? Does this feel good? And then knowing, right, okay, then this is a direction I can move in.
It is so empowering. We've given away our power. This is about claiming our power, not only just claiming it back, but claiming it at its inherent source.
Right.
Of the depth of what I can be. It's riding a frequency like no other.
Right.
And it's within all of us.
So as we have been talking about empowerment, in a subsequent episode of Peace Squared, you journey to South Africa. In light of what we've spoken of, the sense of empowerment and bringing up the concept of imprints that we may be carrying from ancestors, our environment, please touch on that incredible experience in South Africa.
First time I went to South Africa, I landed there and I looked around and I just felt it. I just felt the pain and the agony. What I really felt was the resilience and the beauty. And you can just feel. You could feel the big five, you know, you could feel the kudu, you could feel the drums. And the people trying to make it happen, make it work. This time, I actually want to backtrack. My first initiation into becoming a healer myself happened my first trip in South Africa. And it wasn't until this trip to South Africa that I realized that. But I went there just as I was about in the middle of my own healing journey with Dr. Brownstein and the spirit guides. And it was right after apartheid was over, so it was still really raw, and the townships were still a mess. And I went to the township of Mamelodi, and everybody came out, and they were like, welcome home.
Wow.
And I spent a day with a Sangoma, which is a South African medicine person.
Right.
I don't remember it as a day. Felt like 20 minutes, it was hours, or maybe it was hours and felt like 20 minutes. I can't even tell you. But she burned this in Pepu. It's like a sage, a South African sage. And she did whatever it is she did, but I realize now that she was initiating me as a healer. So this time to South Africa, years later, we're in a much better place. Constitution Hill has been built. But what South Africa represents is everything, you know, in a microcosm of what the world is meant to be, I feel. And what I want to do is to bring those elements of beauty. Gandhi started there.
Yes.
Mandela followed Gandhi's footsteps and created what he created, a single man who followed the call of his soul. This is all about following the call of your soul.
Right.
You know? And that to walk into Constitution Hill, to where Mandela signed the paperwork for freedom in the very place where he was a prisoner, what's there to even say? You just stand there and you feel it.
Yeah.
So when we went to Soweto, not Mamelodi this time, to be with the Sangoma and her family, and we went there to have the experience of being with the Sangoma, to bring that forward in Peace Squared, and what ended up happening was the finish of what started in Mamelodi. She adopted me, and now I get to claim Sangoma, medicine woman as well. And I'm the family of Gogomata now, because we were able to see the connection that all healers are the same. So in the Native American tradition,
I'm glad you brought that up.
we talk
Yes.
about all our relations
Right.
and the
Yes.
ancestors. Well, in South Africa, the medicine people speak to the ancestors. They don't speak to spirit guides. So if you see how we talked about earlier, the truth is the truth is the truth,
Yes.
because it comes down, the downloads are from the same place.
Yes.
Our ancestors, our spirit guides, the divine, ascended masters, and who knows what else, angels. We don't even touch what that really means. But it's the same thing.
Yes.
So I'm working with my Native American family, who are all relation, who speak to everything on this planet, on Mother Earth, as relation to us, and we must treat it with that honor. There are still these threads of truth that run through. And South Africa is such a beautiful microcosm of all of that, of the violence and the hatred and the separatism and genocide and love and peace and beauty. And still through the ancestors, healing can come. And what do they do? They do the same thing a naturopath does, an indigenous healer does, an integrative medicine person does, and that is looks to the body, looks to what the emotion is carrying, looks to the gut, tries to heal all those components in a spiritual way. Does that answer your question?
Absolutely, and more.